Ladies and gentlemen, sons and daughters of destiny, listen to me carefully. This is not just another message. This is not just another motivational talk. No, this is a divine interruption, a heavenly alarm clock sounding in your spirit, shaking you awake before it's too late. Because something is happening right now. Not tomorrow, not next year, now. The world is shifting. The systems are shaking. Governments are trembling. Identities are being stolen. And if you're not careful, you'll sleep through your assignment while the enemy builds on your land. But you, yes you, were not called to blend in. You were chosen to stand out. You were not designed to react to history. You were born to create it. You are the answer someone has been praying for. You are the strategy heaven released into the earth. You are not a mistake. You are a movement. But hear me, you must act before it's too late. To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under heaven. Ecclesiastes 3:01. That means purpose has a timeline and disobedience has a deadline. So here's what the chosen must do before it's too late. Number one, rediscover your original assignment. Before you were born, before your mother met your father, before you ever took your first breath, there was an assignment written with your name on it. You were not created randomly. You were not born by accident. You were sent to earth as a solution to a specific problem in a specific generation. You are not a copy. You are a divine original. Every manufacturer designs a product with a purpose in mind, and the success of the product is only guaranteed if it is used according to the original intent of the manufacturer. The same is true for you. God, the Creator, never creates anything without a purpose. If He made you, it means there's something inside you the earth desperately needs. But purpose is not discovered through ambition. It is revealed through alignment with the mind of God. The tragedy is this: many live and die without ever reconnecting with why they were born. They chase titles, money, recognition, followers, and applause, but never stop to ask, what was I born to do? The result? Frustration, confusion, and a life filled with activity but void of fulfillment. You can be busy and still be barren. You can be talented and still be lost. Because without purpose, life becomes trial and error. That's why we must rediscover the original assignment. See, your assignment is not something you invent. It is something you uncover. It was buried within you before you arrived. The enemy of your soul knows this, which is why he spends so much effort trying to distract you, delay you, and derail you. If he can get you to chase everything except your purpose, he's already won. Because a life lived outside of assignment may still be celebrated by men, but it is empty in the eyes of God. The world defines success as how much you have, how many cars, how much fame, how large your platform is. But heaven defines success as how much of your assignment you completed. When Jesus hung on the cross, He didn't say, I am famous. He said, it is finished. He didn't die full of potential. He died empty, having poured out everything He was sent to do. That's the standard. That's the call. To rediscover your original assignment, you must first return to the source. You cannot find out why a thing exists by asking the thing itself. You must go back to the mind of the Creator. And that requires intimacy. God does not reveal destiny to strangers. He speaks in secret to those who seek Him in the secret place. prayer is not just a religious exercise. It is the environment where purpose is revealed. And if you've been wandering, it's time to get still. Shut out the noise. Mute the distractions. Go back to the altar and ask, why was I sent here? Don't ask what's trendy. Don't ask what pays well. Don't ask what people expect. Ask what God wrote about you before you were formed, because what He wrote is what will stand. The Bible says in Jeremiah 1:05, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you, and before you were born, I set you apart. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations. Notice the order. Before formation came purpose. You were known before you were shaped. That means your assignment predates your body. Your body is just a container. Your spirit carries the call. So if you're trying to find purpose by looking in the mirror or comparing yourself to others, you'll never. Your assignment is not outside of you, it's inside you, buried deep, waiting to be unlocked. And here's the truth, purpose is not always glamorous. It won't always make sense to others. It may not make you famous, it may not fit into society's mold, but if it's from God, it will produce eternal impact. And when you walk in it, even in obscurity, you will feel divine fulfillment. Because purpose gives meaning to pain. It gives clarity in chaos. It anchors you when the storms of life hit. Without it, life becomes survival. With it, life becomes mission. The enemy works overtime to bury your assignment under layers of fear, trauma, disappointment, and worldly ambition. He wants you to believe you're too broken, too late, too old, too lost. But that's a lie. If you're still breathing, the assignment is still active. It's not too late to rediscover it. You may have wasted years, but God can redeem time. He's not limited by clocks or calendars. What you thought was a delay can become your testimony. If you'll turn back to Him, He will reveal what's been buried. But understand, rediscovery comes with responsibility. Once you know what you were born to do, you are no longer allowed to live casually. You can't say yes to everything. You can't entertain every relationship. You can't scroll endlessly through life. Your time is no longer your own. Your gift is not your possession. You are a steward of an eternal assignment, and heaven is watching how you manage it. Let me ask you this. What's that thing that keeps tugging at your heart? That dream that won't die? That burden that won't let you go? That cry you hear in your spirit when the world gets quiet? That's not random. That's your assignment calling you. You've just been too distracted to answer. And here's what many don't realize. Your assignment is usually tied to your deepest pain. What you survived, you were called to solve. The area of your greatest attack is often the place of your greatest authority. So don't run from your story. Don't hide your scars. Your pain has a purpose, and your testimony is someone else's survival guide. The enemy attacked that area because he saw what God placed there, but it's time to take it back and walk in your mandate. Assignment is not always easy, but it is always worth it. And God never gives vision without provision. When you walk in what you were created for, doors will open, resources will align, helpers will appear, because heaven funds what heaven authorizes. But don't make the mistake of thinking your assignment is only about a platform. It may not be on a stage. It may be in a classroom, a hospital, a boardroom, or a street corner. Don't limit God's call to a microphone. Purpose is not about being seen. It's about being sent. You may never be known by millions, but if you're known in heaven as someone who completed their assignment, you have succeeded. The hour is urgent. The time is short, and the chosen cannot afford to live another day on autopilot. The world doesn't need more celebrities, it needs more obedient vessels. Vessels who are bold enough to step into their divine mandate no matter the cost. Chosen ones who wake up every morning and ask, Lord, how can I serve the reason I was born today? The graveyard is full of unfulfilled potential. Songs never sung, books never written, inventions never built, lives never transformed, all because someone never rediscovered their assignment. But that won't be your story, not if you decide today, right now, to go back to the one who sent you. Because when you know your assignment, you no longer need to compete. You stop comparing, you stop copying, you move with confidence because you know you were sent to do what no one else can do, how only you can do it. That's the power of rediscovering your original assignment. It frees you from performance and anchors you in purpose. So stop running, stop doubting, stop hiding. The time is now. The shift is here. The call is real. And the earth is groaning, waiting for the sons and daughters of God to be revealed. Rediscover your assignment before it's too late. Number 2, detox from the noise of the world. We are living in an age of overwhelming noise. Not the kind you hear through your ears, but the kind that bombards your soul. Screens glow day and night, voices shout for your attention, information floods your mind from the moment you wake up to the moment you close your eyes. And even then, the noise follows you into your dreams. This generation is more connected than ever before, but more confused, more distracted, and more lost than any that came before. The noise is not just outside, it has seeped inside the spirit. And if you're not intentional, the volume of the world will drown out the voice of God. You were not created to live like this. Your spirit was not designed to be constantly overstimulated by trends, headlines, gossip, likes, followers, and opinions. Your soul craves peace, clarity, and focus. But when you live immersed in the noise of the world, you begin to normalize the chaos. You begin to think confusion is normal. You begin to think anxiety is just part of life. But that is not the life God called you to. He called you to peace. He called you to stillness. He called you to communion with Him. God speaks in stillness. The whisper of the Holy Spirit cannot compete with the shouting of the culture. If your soul is filled with the world's frequencies, how can you discern the divine? How can you recognize the promptings of heaven if your mind is tuned in to the frequency of fear, of lust, of greed, of doubt? God is not silent. Many are just too loud to hear Him. There was a prophet named Elijah who once stood on a mountain waiting to hear from God. A wind came, then an earthquake, then a fire. But God was in none of them. Then came a still small voice, and there He was. The Lord is not found in the noise. He is found in the stillness. But stillness requires effort. It requires discipline. It requires you to disconnect from the world to reconnect with the kingdom. And that is where the detox must begin. Not a physical detox, but a spiritual one, a mental one. A soul-level cleansing from everything that has dulled your sensitivity to God. Social media is not evil, but it is loud. Entertainment is not always sinful, but it is distracting. The news is not always false, but it is fear-filled. And when you allow these things to be the primary voices in your day, you are slowly being discipled by the world instead of the Word. The noise is subtle. It doesn't shout, Follow me and abandon your purpose. No. It whispers through endless scrolling, through passive comparison, through the fear of missing out. It trains you to look sideways instead of looking upward. It gets you addicted to updates instead of truth. It fills your day with trivia so there's no room for truth. You begin to live reactively instead of prophetically. You respond to what's happening instead of discerning what God is doing. And here is the danger. When the noise becomes normal, you stop noticing how far you've drifted. You begin to confuse activity with productivity. You start calling stress grind and exhaustion success. But your soul knows something is wrong. Deep down, your spirit starts crying out for something real, something deeper, something eternal. That's the cry of the chosen. It's the part of you that knows you were not born to just survive the day. You were born to hear from heaven and release heaven on earth. But that power only comes through clarity. And clarity cannot live where clutter is king. You see, detox is not just about elimination, it's about restoration. You're not just removing distractions, you're making space for divine instructions. You're not just shutting off the world, you're tuning into the Spirit. And that requires intentional decisions. It means you may need to delete certain apps, unfollow certain voices, cancel some subscriptions. Not because you're religious, but because you're serious. Serious about your destiny, serious about your clarity, serious about guarding your ears, your eyes, and your heart. The chosen ones must be ruthless about what they allow to enter their gates. The eye gate and the ear gate are sacred. They are the entry points to your soul. If the enemy can control your gates, he can contaminate your thoughts. And if he can corrupt your thoughts, he can hijack your decisions. Your life is always moving in the direction of your dominant voice. So who's really leading you? Is it the Holy Spirit or is it the algorithm? There is a reason Jesus often withdrew from the crowd. Not because he didn't love people, but because he knew clarity required consecration. He knew his assignment could not be maintained while constantly surrounded by noise. He would often slip away to lonely places to pray. He would silence the world so he could remain in sync with heaven. If the Son of God needed solitude to stay aligned, how much more do we? You must learn to protect your atmosphere. You must treat your mind like sacred ground. Don't let just anything grow there. Don't let just anyone speak there. Don't let the culture plant seeds of doubt where God planted destiny. If your mind is constantly being filled with negativity, fear, and confusion, don't be surprised when you feel overwhelmed and directionless. You are a product of what you consume. Feed your spirit more than your screen. The detox is not easy. It will feel uncomfortable at first. Silence can be terrifying when you've been surrounded by noise for so long. When you finally turn off the distractions, you may hear the buried pain, the unresolved trauma, the old wounds you've been avoiding. But hear me. That's exactly where healing begins. God cannot heal what you keep hiding behind noise. Silence is where the surgery of the soul takes place. This is why fasting is so powerful, not just from food, but from media, from entertainment, from everything that has become louder than God. When you fast the noise, you begin to hear again. You begin to feel again. Your spiritual senses awaken. You realize how dull you had become. The Word comes alive again. The presence of God feels near again. The voice of the Spirit gets clearer. That's what happens when the noise dies and the Spirit rises. And once you've detoxed, you must guard what you allow back in. Don't go back to what God pulled you out of. Just because it's popular doesn't mean it's purposeful. Just because it's trending doesn't mean it's truth. You are not called to fit in with culture, you are called to transform it. But you can't transform what you resemble. You can't carry heaven's power while being addicted to the world's noise. This detox is urgent. The times we are living in require clarity. We are not in a season of convenience. We are in a season of calling, and calling demands concentration. The enemy is working overtime to keep you entertained, distracted, and divided. But you must rise above it. You must be the one who says, I refuse to lose my soul to sound bites. I refuse to trade my purpose for popularity. I refuse to let the noise rob me of my calling. Chosen ones hear differently. They move differently. They protect their peace. They treasure their focus. They silence the world not because they are weak, but because they are wise. They know that to hear what heaven is saying, they must shut down what the world is screaming. God is still speaking. The heavens are still open. The Spirit is still moving. But the question is, can you hear Him over the noise? You must decide. Will you be another voice in the crowd, or the voice crying out in the wilderness? The detox is not about isolation. It's about alignment. It's not about being anti-culture. It's about being pro-kingdom. And it's not about being perfect. It's about being available. Available to hear. Available to obey. Available to move when God says move. The noise is everywhere. But the voice of God is still the most powerful force in the universe. And to those who dare to silence the noise, it is waiting. Number 3, build what you were told to build. There comes a moment in every chosen life when the instruction is clear. The vision is not blurred, the direction is not confusing, and the voice of the Lord is not distant. It may not come with thunder, it may not arrive in a dream, but deep in your spirit there is a knowing that you were shown something divine, a glimpse of what you were born to do, a design that didn't come from your imagination but from heaven's blueprint. And from that moment forward, you are no longer responsible for what others are doing. You are responsible to build what you were told to build. God does not waste blueprints. When He shows you something, it is not a suggestion, it is a command. It may come through prayer, through pain, through prophecy, or through revelation, but once the assignment is released, heaven expects movement, not perfection, but progress. The reason many are stuck is not because God hasn't spoken, it's because they haven't obeyed. Delayed obedience is still disobedience. And to the chosen ones, God is saying, build what I showed you before it's too late. You were not called to admire other people's assignments. You were not sent here to copy trends, chase applause, or wait for validation. You were sent here to build. Not just to dream, not just to plan, not just to talk, but to build. There is a divine instruction over your life. And whether or not you understand all the details, heaven is watching what you do with what you've been told. Noah didn't build the ark because it made sense. He built it because he heard. God didn't give him the blueprint after the rain came. He gave it before, in a time when it had never rained. Noah had no reference point, no crowd cheering him on, no examples to follow, just a word, and that word was enough. The only reason humanity exists today is because one man obeyed and built what he was told to build. Many of you are waiting for the perfect conditions. But God never asked for comfort. He asked for obedience. You want everything to be aligned before you start, but sometimes the alignment doesn't come until after you begin. Some of the greatest moves of God were birthed in the middle of inconvenience, in the middle of resistance, in the middle of opposition, because obedience is tested in the fire, not in the comfort zone. You don't need a platform to build. You don't need a title to build. You don't need a crowd to build. You need the instruction and the courage to follow it. Some of the most powerful assignments are being built in silence, in obscurity, in the secret place where no one is clapping and no one is watching, but heaven is watching. And that's all that matters. The reason many chosen ones feel heavy, restless, and frustrated is not because they're doing too much. It's because they're not doing what they were told. You cannot substitute divine instruction with good ideas. You can't replace obedience with busyness. If God told you to build something, nothing else will satisfy you until you do. That's why some of you can't enjoy distractions anymore. That's why entertainment doesn't fill you like it used to. That's why you can't settle for shallow anymore. Because the call to build has been activated. And once it's been activated, you can't go back to normal. And here's the truth. What God tells you to build won't always make sense to people around you. Don't expect the masses to understand what heaven whispered to you in secret. They weren't there when God spoke. They didn't see what you saw. They weren't entrusted with the blueprint. That's why their opinions don't matter. Your job is not to explain. Your job is to build. When Nehemiah was building the wall, his enemies mocked him. They said, "Even a fox could break down what you're building." But Nehemiah didn't argue. He didn't debate. He didn't stop to defend himself. He simply said, "I am doing a great work and I cannot come down." That's the posture of the chosen builder. Eyes on the vision, hands on the wall, heart fixed on the instruction. No time for distractions. No time for drama. No time for delay. If God gave you the blueprint, it means He's already provided what you need to start. You may not have everything, but you have enough. Stop waiting for every resource to appear before you begin. Faith builds with what's in the hand, not with what's in the wish list. David killed Goliath not with Saul's armor, but with the sling he had always used. God will use what's already in you to build what He called you to birth. And understand this: what you're building is not just for you. Your obedience is connected to generations. Your yes is the foundation for someone else's breakthrough. Every wall you build, every idea you execute, every ministry you birth, every message you release, it becomes a bridge for others to cross. You're not just building a thing, you're building a legacy. And that's why the fight has been so intense. The enemy doesn't attack what isn't a threat. The resistance is proof of the assignment. Some of you have been given blueprints for businesses, schools, media platforms, ministries, books, music programs, systems, movements. But fear has kept you idle. Doubt has paralyzed your hands. Comparison has robbed you of momentum. But today that ends. Heaven is calling you back to the blueprint, back to the vision, back to the original instruction. Because time is short and what you carry cannot die with you. You don't have time to keep rechecking with people God never consulted. You don't have time to keep seeking confirmation for what He already told you to do. There comes a point where faith is not asking again, it's moving forward. And when you move, heaven moves with you. You must build with urgency, you must build with purity, you must build with excellence, and you must build with faith. Don't wait to feel ready. Obedience is not based on emotion, it's based on trust. Trust that the one who gave you the vision will supply the provision. Trust that even when it gets hard, the grace to finish is greater than the pressure to quit. It may not come fast, it may not look flashy, it may not go viral, but if God told you to build it, it will stand. Because what heaven initiates, heaven sustains. And in the end, when the storms come and the winds blow, only what was built by instruction will remain. So return to the blueprint. Dust off the plan, get back to the table, pick up the hammer, lay the first brick, send the first email, start the first page, launch the first post. Take the first step. You don't need to see the entire staircase. Just take the first step in faith. Because the question is not, will it be easy? The question is, was I told to build this? If the answer is yes, then your path is set. Your mission is clear. Your orders are divine. Now walk it out. Build it in silence. Build it with tears. Build it when they mock you. Build it when you're tired. Build it when you don't feel like it. Build it because heaven commanded it. You are the builder, the chosen, the one entrusted with divine instructions in a generation that desperately needs solutions. The world doesn't need more noise. It needs structures. It needs systems. It needs answers. And those answers are locked in the obedience of the builders. God didn't choose the qualified, He qualifies the obedient. And He is not asking for your perfection, He is asking for your yes, your surrender, your bold, radical, fearless obedience. Not just on Sunday, not just when you feel inspired, but daily. Build daily, move daily, obey daily. Because in the end, you will not be judged by what you dreamed, you will be judged by what you built. Number 4, separate from anything that's not kingdom aligned. There comes a moment in every believer's life when the call to separate becomes clear. It's not a suggestion, it's a divine imperative. God is calling His people to separate from anything that doesn't align with His kingdom. We live in a world where the lines are often blurred, where good is mixed with bad, and where the sacred is entangled with the profane. But the time has come for the chosen ones to rise up, to stand firm and to make a decision. Will you align with the kingdom, or will you remain in the world's ways? Separation is not a punishment. It is a protection. God's call to separate from the world is not to isolate you from the people, but to insulate you from the influences that would dilute your purpose. The world is a powerful force. It pulls you in every direction. It screams for your attention, your allegiance, your time, and your energy. It offers you comfort, fame, fortune, and pleasure, but it will never offer you peace. It will never offer you purpose. The world will never fulfill the deep longing in your soul. And this is why separation is necessary. When God calls you to separate, He's not asking you to abandon the world entirely. He's not asking you to retreat from the people He's called you to reach. What He's asking for is a separation of your spirit, your mind, and your affections from anything that has been tainted by the world's ways. The world's systems are built on principles of self-interest, manipulation, and deception. The kingdom is built on selflessness, truth, and integrity. And the two are incompatible. You cannot serve both. You cannot walk in both realms at the same time. God is calling you to choose. The Apostle Paul makes it clear in 2 Corinthians 6:17, "Come out from among them and be ye separate, saith the Lord, and touch not the unclean thing." This is not a passive request, it is a command. When you align yourself with things that are not kingdom aligned, you allow those things to influence your thoughts, your choices, and ultimately your destiny. The enemy knows that if he can keep you distracted by the noise of the world, he can keep you from your assignment. He knows that if he can keep you bound by worldly desires, you will never experience the fullness of God's purpose for your life. When God tells you to separate, He's not being harsh or restrictive. He's protecting you. There are things in this world that will try to pull you away from the path of purpose. These things will appear harmless. They may seem enjoyable, even enticing, but they are traps. They are distractions designed to keep you from the kingdom assignment that you were created to fulfill. And if you stay too long, they will wear down your resolve. They will steal your clarity. They will rob you of the spiritual sensitivity you need to hear from God. Look around. What is influencing you? What voices are shaping your decisions? What relationships are pulling you away from the kingdom? What activities are stealing your time, your energy, and your focus? You cannot afford to allow these distractions to rule your life. You cannot afford to keep entertaining things that aren't aligned with your kingdom purpose. You cannot afford to keep compromising with the world, hoping it will give you what you need. It won't. The world offers nothing that lasts. It offers temporary pleasure at the cost of permanent peace. It offers temporary success at the cost of lasting fulfillment. The things of the world can never satisfy the deep longing of your soul. Only the kingdom can do that. And the kingdom can only be fully experienced when you have completely separated from the things that keep you rooted in the world system. Jesus said in Matthew 6:24, "No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other." You can't have one foot in the world and one foot in the kingdom. You can't straddle the fence. You cannot serve both. When you choose to separate, you are choosing to place the kingdom of God first. You are choosing to prioritize His will over the world's ways. This doesn't mean you abandon your responsibility to the people around you. This doesn't mean you isolate yourself from society. What it means is that you choose to live according to kingdom principles, even when the world tells you to do something else. It means you live differently, you think differently, you speak differently, you act differently. Separation requires that you guard your heart. Proverbs 4:23 says, "Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it." Your heart is the wellspring of life. What you allow into your heart will shape your thoughts, your actions, and your destiny. If you allow yourself to be saturated by the world's systems, by the world's values, and by the world's desires, you will be influenced by them. And the enemy will use those things to lead you away from your kingdom purpose. This is why separation is necessary. You must guard your heart and separate it from anything that is not of God. The key to living a separated life is not legalism, it's love. Love for God's will, love for His ways, love for His kingdom. When you truly love the kingdom, you will naturally separate from anything that is not aligned with it. It's not about trying to be perfect. It's about making intentional choices to live in alignment with God's purpose for your life. You must be intentional about your thoughts, your actions, and your relationships. You must make decisions based on kingdom principles, not worldly desires. This separation may cause you to lose relationships. It may cause you to lose certain opportunities. It may even cause you to lose comfort and security. But the cost of staying in the world system is far greater than the cost of separation. The world will never give you peace. The world will never give you purpose. The world will never give you the abundant life that Jesus promised. But when you separate from the world's ways, you position yourself to experience the fullness of God's kingdom. You position yourself to receive the wisdom, the favor, and the anointing that comes only from living according to His ways. Separation is not just about what you avoid, it's also about what you choose to pursue. You are called to pursue the things of the kingdom. You are called to pursue righteousness, peace, and joy in the Holy Ghost. You are called to pursue a life that reflects the character of Christ. And as you pursue the kingdom, you'll find that the distractions of the world lose their hold on you. They lose their appeal. The things that once seemed important no longer matter because you have set your eyes on something greater. Separation is not just a one-time decision. It's a daily commitment. Every day you must choose to separate from the things that are not aligned with God's will. Every day you must make a decision to prioritize the kingdom over the world. Every day you must choose to guard your heart and your mind from the influences of this world. And as you do, you will begin to experience the peace, the clarity, and the fulfillment that comes from living in alignment with God's purpose for your life. The time for compromise is over. The time for living according to the world's standards is over. The time for allowing distractions to rule your life is over. God is calling you to separate from everything that's not kingdom aligned. He is calling you to live a life that reflects His values, His truth, and His glory. And when you make the decision to separate, you will find that His presence will fill you in ways the world never could. His peace will guard your heart and mind. His joy will overflow in your life, and His favor will rest upon you. The call to separate is a call to live fully for the kingdom. It's a call to walk in the authority, the power, and the purpose that God has for your life. It's a call to let go of the things that are holding you back and to step fully into the life He has prepared for you. It's time to separate. It's time to align with the kingdom. And it's time to live the life you were always meant to live. Chosen one, it's happening. The shift, the move, the awakening. And it will not wait for you to be comfortable. This is not a season to play it safe. This is not a time to be silent. This is a kingdom moment, a prophetic call, a divine push. You were born for such a time as this. So rise, build, move, obey before it's too late.